Just jumping out the cab now. We've arrived near the front of the concentration camp and just grabbing our bags. We're about to go walk down the train tracks. Bye. Thanks very much. Dziękuję bardzo. Cześć. And so I guess I just wanted to grasp the journey and to get a sense of this was very much the last journey for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people. And these very tracks just here was people's last journey. So if we walk down here in this direction, and you'll see the tracks will just appear to my left. So the announcements apparently for this camp, for those who were being deported to here, were misleading and misrepresenting, saying that it was...
They had like sports facilities and there were cafes and where people could relax and all that.
Yeah, right. There were like sports facilities, eating facilities, cafes where people could relax. And the reality was the complete opposite. And what also was a part of this as well, that a lot of the actual German soldiers had absolutely no idea what was going on in this place. None whatsoever. Whoop, that's slippery. And it wasn't till afterwards, even at the end of the war, that when the information got released what was actually happening in here, that happened here, that it was even tried to be covered up because the extremities of what ended up happening. And that was to the dismay and disheartening of many of the soldiers that were also in the war, because they had no idea and just following, which seems now absolute senseless, mindless protocol. For what purpose? So we're pretty much right beside the entrance of Auschwitz, and the tracks, as you can see here, pretty much come to an end at this booth. And then originally they would have appeared to the left across this road into... This is the front here of Auschwitz, which we're about to enter, and there are already lines of hundreds upon hundreds of people, and it's only just opening now. So we're going back in. Yesterday I really couldn't bring myself to going into the gas chambers. It was just too much for me. I was just overwhelmed with just being there, and I just couldn't bring myself to go into the door. But today I'm going to brave it because of the stuff that's been coming up for me, and hopefully it's going to be a very, I think, a cathartic and healing experience. Even this morning when I woke up, I was sick to my core. My guts were churning to the point where I had to rush to the bathroom, and I was gagging and dry reaching, and there was nothing to be sick, but energetically a lot was coming up for me. Okay, we can't get in here, we have to go around. And it happened probably a good 8 or 9 times this morning through separate occasions that just kept coming up, and it was like a purge. Okay, let's try this gate. No. So that's what's been happening, and I guess I had a really big emotional release this morning, and chatting with Bodhi about our family and our history and making changes, but looking at what our family went through, which is part of us and our DNA, and how gifted and how we forget and take for granted what we have in the freedom in Australia. And just even being in Poland with the culture, and it still feels very heavy, and there's a lot of suppression that has been influenced upon this whole nation, and it's still residue here, and it's still very heavy. And just the contrast from our familiar and usual environment being in here is really something to take a look at and to reflect upon. So this morning I just was sharing with Bodhi with the changes that are happening and what we're noticing, also traveling with my father who's not with me today. I honestly felt it would have been too overwhelming for him personally to be here. So he's actually chosen to go visit another part of Poland. But yeah, this morning I was just saying to Bodhi that this is good to visit this because it allows us to make conscious decisions, conscious shifts in how we choose to be, even though we have genealogical patterning and conditioning, as well as cultural influences, as well as parental and educational influences. By visiting and seeing and sitting in what the charges may be and the emotion, and being able to be okay in navigating through what may need to energetically pass through what I'm experiencing in my body that is not serving me. And that is the constant discipline that I keep continuing to show up for in order to find the next level of myself, the bigger and better version of myself, in order to really embrace all facets wholeheartedly of life. But we're just here at the front. Just come out of a concentration camp, and I can't describe the impact of really hearing what went on throughout there, and to the magnitude that it was. I initially thought it was hundreds of thousands of people, and now I realise it was over 1.3 million people were killed during that time through the Second World War in this very camp. And a lot of what, or the little that I did know about this place, and many of you may know, and a lot was associated to the Jewish faith and culture. But the concentration camps were a lot more than just that. A significant number and majority of the atrocities that happened were associated with Judaism. But it stemmed much more than that. It was also for common people who were even to be Polish. It's interesting that Germany invaded from one side and Russia invaded from the other, the Soviet Union. And the Poles were hit from both sides and needed to be processed according to the agenda at that time. And so the Germans created this camp here, which we're just now leaving, and a lot of civilians were just people of even different types of spirituality, personal beliefs. Monks and nuns of even Catholicism were brought here and executed. A lot of the Roman gypsies were deported here. It's just really hard to fathom at the moment. I'm just sitting with what happened, and you can see just here these tracks were the last tracks that were ever travelled by millions people, 1.3 million to be exact. And even still, and that's of what archives were actually kept. So I'm just sitting with the impact of what I've just experienced and gone through, and my resistance of going into the gas chambers yesterday was highlighted today, and just that sinking feeling and those memories that I've had in the past as well, and this quest as well to learn more about my history and what the journey was in my lineage of little there is remaining to be able to discover, seeing how my father is the only living elder of my family, and it's just getting to know a lot more about who I am, even my actions in my day-to-day life, and how they've been influenced from such atrocities that have come through my heritage. And we were initially going to catch that train. It's symbolically, I said that to Bodhi, but he wasn't keen on catching the train. I said symbolically it'd be good to catch a train out of this place. But just the timing was just impeccable then, us going past that old rickety red train, because that train inward was the end for so many. And I guess symbolically I wanted to catch that train out, symbolically. But yeah, I'm just really hit hard with that whole experience, and it's really getting me to sit home with a lot of things that I've experienced, and even my way of being in life have been reflective of that. So I'll be sharing more of that in the near future, how some of my patterns and programs, a lot of the subconscious stuff that I'm noticing and going through this transition for expansion and growth and living greater love, but it's also clearing up the karma of the past and that residue that's not serving my spirit, my sense of self right now. And so as more of that transpires, I'll share that along this journey. I'm just going to go and sit with this for a moment, because it really did hit hard.